Did you ever think that one day your mother would die? It's been about 8 years now and I still think she'll appear one day and say it was a big silly joke. The hidden camera kind of joke. Except it isn't, and she's never coming back. On the day that I turned 20 years old, I suddenly decided to celebrate my birthday, and this was very weird to me, and it was out of the ordinary because my birthday had never really been celebrated. When I was younger for many years, I used to be like, oh, I need a cake for my birthday, but no one really cared about my birthday that much. After some point, I just stopped asking for my birthday to be celebrated, for a cake to be bought, and suddenly when I turned 20, she bought a cake. She even brought everyone together and started singing happy birthday, and I remember just feeling, this is so weird. Why is she doing this? And it ended up being the first of the last birthday that she celebrated for me on her own accord. It was out of the ordinary. Thinking about this actually brings me a lot of anxiety. Each and every time I see someone around me doing something that is out of the ordinary, it really makes me think, oh, are they about to leave this world because they're doing something that they normally don't do? It's not funny. Anxiety is not funny. I am not afraid of death myself, but I'm afraid of losing the people I love because the pain is unbearable. We live in a world where you're not allowed to feel the pain. You're expected to move on as quickly as possible. They tell you the living should continue to live because the dead are gone. They're there for you to bury the dead, but after that you're on your own. You wake up to this silence, to this emptiness. You wake up wondering where they went. Feel confused. You want to scream all day long. Your heart feels heavy. You want to rip it from your skin so that you can stop feeling the painful jabs, but you have to go to work. You have to show up for other people even when you can't find yourself. And most of all, you have to sit thinking, what happens when I lose these other people that I love? This death anxiety, the one that people barely talk about, makes me afraid of loving other people. The more you love, the more you're putting your heart in danger of unbearable pain. Unfortunately, that's what comes with loving. It always ends with a heartbreak because they will always leave either by choice or by death. You'll be lucky if you're the one that dies first because you won't have to experience the pain of losing someone you love and having to live with the anxiety of losing the ones you have around you. This kind of anxiety can paralyze you so much that you don't want to go on with life anymore. But I also believe that it is some sort of blessing because it reminds you of your humanity. When I get anxious about the ones I care about, I remind myself of my ability to love, to be compassionate, to be understanding of other people that are not perfect. Even the ones around me that belittle me just because I was born a girl. Even the ones that take a lot of joy in seeing me going through difficult moments. I still get anxious about their mortality, but how they treat me is the perfect alarm to remind me to focus my attention on those that actually deserve it. Death anxiety simply means I fear that you may leave me alone in this world, and that definitely means that I value your existence in my life. So instead of using up my time being fearful, I use it to treat those around me a little better. I forgive them easily. I tell them when they wrong me. I cook them delicious meals so that even when they're not here anymore, I know that I did my best in treating them as human beings, even when sometimes they don't extend the same grace to me. She never got to use this glass, and it was one of the gifts that she got during her wedding. And the reason why she never used it is because she was always saying that it would be used by guests. And actually a lot of African parents do this, where they put the best utensils aside for guests. It's actually so sad that she never got to use this, and those guests that she was waiting for so they could use this, well, they never came. And every time I see these sets of glasses in the cupboard, it really reminds me that I deserve the best, that I don't have to work so hard, and once I have the best things, I put them aside for other people because I'm just as important. Because at the end of the day, you can't treat somebody else in a way that you've never really treated yourself. You can't give someone first-class treatment when you don't even know how first-class treatment feels like. So here's to putting yourself first and not waiting for the best to come. Make the best of each and every day. It's been about 8 years now since she left. At first I was angry. Why did she have to disappear just like that? Why did she leave without giving an apology for how she treated me? My grief was centered around me and my feelings about how I felt because of her absence, and over time, especially after I worked through all the negative feelings I had and working out my childhood traumas, grief has changed form, and now I mourn for the life that my mother never got to live. Maybe it's because I've gotten older and I can see things more clearly. Maybe it's because I've experienced more things as a woman and I understand what it means to live in this womanly skin in the real world. Maybe it's because I started seeing my own mother as a human being and not some sort of an unbreakable hero. Maybe it's because I've put a lot of time and energy into healing. I don't know exactly when it happened, but when it did, when I started looking at my mother's life through her eyes, in her shoes, my grief became about the woman she didn't become, but longed for. I also find myself feeling very sorry for my younger brother. We had the same mother, but he only had 10 years of his life with a mother. Only 10 years. I feel so sorry for him that it breaks my heart that at such a young age, he lost a parent. At 10, the world is still rosy, parents are heroes, everything is just full of bliss. And that is something that was robbed from his childhood. The rose-colored glasses that childhood carries was shattered for him. He had to start living in reality while only 10 years into his life on this planet. This reminds me how much of a privilege being a firstborn is. It definitely is a heavy title to have and one that comes with many tribulations. But it also has its good sides, and one of them is getting to spend more time with your parents, whether you appreciate it or not. This also makes me wonder how I'm able to mourn the lost childhood that my brother experienced as a result of losing our mother. Because my own childhood was robbed due to the responsibility of being a firstborn, and somehow, this process of grieving my mother's life forced me to grieve this lost childhood of mine, which of course meant I had to confront the negative feelings I had about having been forced to grow up too fast. I don't know the next form this grief will take, but for now, as I regret the life that my mother never lived, I am determined to live a life that pays homage to her dreams. I actually never wanted to do a master's degree. It's not really something groundbreaking in my professional field. I actually did it for her because she actually wanted to have a master's degree. She was actually in the process of doing her master's degree when she passed away. So for me, it was some sort of paying homage to her life. And that also means that I've made some sort of history in my family because I actually think I was the first one to get a master's degree at 25. I didn't have a great relationship with my mother. Every time we had a conversation, it always ended in an argument, and that simply means that I hated being home because I hated these arguments that actually never made sense. Maybe it's because I was a teenager, maybe I was a bad child, but I know for sure one of those reasons would be my outspoken nature. I was the nightmare for any African parent who expects obedience and silence. I am loudly curious and I expect everyone to be accountable and responsible for their words and actions, especially if you're my parent, because you can't say one thing and do the complete opposite. Being reminded how much of a bad child I was for being curious and outspoken eventually led me to hide myself while I was at home. If I couldn't find myself, it meant that I had a chance of having some semblance of peace for the few days before spending all my other days at school. I even went to boarding school when I was 10 because home was just unbearable. Naturally, this meant that I tried to be so far removed from my own mother as much as possible because that was the only way to get along. I always wondered why our relationship was this sour and why it had to be that way. I of course extend a lot of compassion to myself because after all, I was a child, and if anything, it is the duty of adults to show guidance to children. But that cannot happen, especially when adults refuse to see children as full human beings with thoughts and feelings by reducing them to obedience and silence. Over time, as I have taken a lot of time and energy to self-reflect and even study psychology, I'm able to put one and one together and realize why she was the way she was. The frustrations she had majorly stemmed from not only living in, but also buying into the patriarchy. She was the good woman that we are all taught to be. She even didn't take a job promotion just so that she couldn't have a better or similar job title to my father, and had to move to a work destination that was closer to home so that she could be the perfect mother and wife, which of course meant accepting a demotion at work. And this is where her health problems that led to her demise started. What kind of life do I want to live? For sure, it's one that is the complete opposite of my mother's. Reflecting on my life and hers, pinpointed a lot of similarities we had, like people pleasing, which I really worked hard to shed. My mother had big dreams, she liked expensive things, she liked a soft life, and yet she didn't get to achieve many of this because she wanted the title of a good woman. The dreams and desires she had, I have them too, and instead of reducing myself to make other people happy, I will live out the life I want, the one I've written in my brain and in my heart. the me that I had to erase in order to create a peaceful environment at home. I have written her back in bold letters, and whether those around me have a problem with that, sipame wanyo, it's none of my business. I am already living the life that I envisioned for myself. The fact that at this age I am at home writing and curating these life chapters into videos that I share into the world instead of being at some job, in some office, working with incompetent bosses that think women don't deserve to get paid the same as men. This is a win. This is me truly living, truly being alive, truly making the best out of this life that my mother gave me. The best way to give thanks to her for bringing me into this world, although I wouldn't really like to be in this world, is to make the best out of my time here. And the best way is by living a life that is written by my own hands, because someday my time to leave this world will come and I don't want to look back and have any regrets, especially ones that include betraying myself to make other people and the world happy. This oversized vest actually used to be hers, and I decided it would actually work well with this video.